जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा। कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा। जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय राधा दामोदर राधा दामोदर राधे। जय निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरंग। निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरंग। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्र शतश्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शील प्रभुपाद की। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto number 2, the Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter number 2, the Lord in the Heart, text number 9 and 10. Text number 9. Prasanna Vaktram Nalinayate Kshanam Kadamba Kinjalka Pishanga Vasasam Lasan Maharatna Hiranmayangadam Sfuran Maharatna Kirita Kundalam Prasanna Vaktram Nalinayate Kshanam Kadamba Kinjal Kapishanga Vasasam Lasan Maharatna Hiranmayangadam Sfuran Maharatna Kirita Kundalam Prasanna Vaktram Nalinayate Kshanam Kadamba Kinjal Kapishanga Vasasam Lasan Maharatna Hiranmayangadam Sfuran Maharatna Kirita Kundalam. Prasanna Vaktram Nalinayate Kshanam Kadamba Kinjal Kapisanga Vasasam Lasan Maharatna Hiranmayangadam Sfuran Maharatna Kirita Kundalam Prasanna Vaktram. Prasanna Vaktram Nalinayate Kshanam Kadamba Kinjal Kapishanga Vasasam Word to word meaning. Prasanna expresses happiness. Vaktram mouth. Nalinayata spread like the petals of a lotus. Ikshanam eyes. Kadamba flower. Kinjalka saffron. Pishanga yellow. Vasasam garments. Lasat hanging. Maharatna valuable jewels. Hiranmaya made of gold. Angadam ornament. Sfurat glowing. Maharatna valuable jewels. Kirita, head dress. Kundalam, earrings. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. His mouth expresses his happiness, his eyes spread like the petals of a lotus, and his garments, yellowish like the saffron of a kadamba flower, are bedecked with valuable jewels. His ornaments are all made of gold, set with jewels, and he wears a glowing head dress and earrings. Please repeat this translation. His mouth expresses his happiness. His eyes spread like the petals of a lotus, and his garments, yellowish like the saffron of a kadamba flower, are bedecked with valuable jewels. His ornaments are all made of gold, set with jewels, and he wears a glowing headdress and earrings. Text number 10, I'll read myself. Unnidrahrit pankaja karnikalaye yogeshwarasthapitada pallavam Shri Lakshanam Kaustubaratna Kandharam Amlan Lakshmya Vanamala Yachitam. Word to word meaning: Unnidra, blooming; Hrit, heart; Pankaja, lotus flower; Karnika, alaye, on the surface of the wall; Yoga Ishvara, the great mystics; Asthapita, placed; Pada Pallavam, lotus feet; Shri, the goddess of fortune or a beautiful calf; Lakshanam, marked in that way; Kaustubha, the Kaustubha jewel; Ratna, other jewels; Kandaram, on the shoulder; Amlana, quite fresh; Lakshmya, beauty; Vanamalaya, by a flower garland; Achitam, spread over. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. His lotus feet are placed over the walls of the lotus-like hearts of great mystics. On his chest is the Kaustubha jewel, engraved with a beautiful calf, and there are other jewels on his shoulders. His complete torso is garlanded with fresh flowers. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. The ornaments, flowers, clothing, and all the other decorations on the transcendental body of the personality of Godhead are identical with the body of the Lord. None of them are made of material ingredients. Otherwise, there would be no chance of their decorating the body of the Lord. As such, in the Paravyoma, spiritual varieties are also distinguished from the material variegatedness. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So beginning from the verse preceding the verses we have read today, what is being described by Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit is the description of the form of the Paramatma who is situated in everybody's heart. So in the previous verse, Shukadeva Goswami is saying, Kechit Svedehantara Hridayavakashe Pradeshamatram Purusham Vasantam Chaturbhujam Kanjaratanga Shankha Gadadharam Dharanaya Smaranti. Others conceive of the personality of Godhead residing within the body, in the region of the heart, and measuring only 8 inches, with 4 hands, carrying a lotus, a wheel of a chariot, a conch shell, and a club, respectively. And in today's verse, the description says, further describing this form, this 8-inch form of the Paramatma, his mouth expresses his happiness. Prasanna Vaktram. His eyes spread like the petals of a lotus. Nalinayata Ikshanam. And his garments, yellowish like the saffron of a Kadamba flower. Kadamba Kinjalka Pishanga Vasasam. And they are bedecked with valuable jewels. Lasat Maharatna Hiranmaya Angadam. His ornaments are made of gold set with jewels. Sfurat Maharatna, and he wears a glowing headdress and earrings. Kirita Kundalam. Then the description of his lotus feet are given. His lotus feet are placed on the walls of the lotus-like hearts of great mystics. Unnidra Hrit Pankaja Karnikalaye Yogeshwarasthapita Pada Pallavam. And then the description of his chest. On his chest is the Kaustuba jewel engraved with a beautiful calf. Sri Lakshanam Kaustuba Ratna Kandaram. And there are other jewels on his shoulders. His complete torso is garlanded with fresh flowers. Amlana Lakshmya Vanamala Yachitam. So what we are seeing here is a very, very precise and detailed description of the form of the Lord. Generally, in India and when it comes to spirituality, people say that there are several ways to realize the absolute truth. And you can meditate on any form you wish to meditate upon. And when you are perfect in your meditation, then you can realize that absolute truth. And of course, the goal of all these people who are taking to some form of meditation or spirituality is they want to be freed from this cycle of birth and death. So with the same goal only, they are pursuing their paths. So the general idea which most people have is that you need some form to meditate upon, and it need not be only a particular type of form. You can meditate on any form, and when you become perfect in that meditation, then you will realize that absolute truth, and you don't no longer have to take birth again. But here we see that this entire description is coming about because Parikshit Maharaj is inquiring from Shukadeva Goswami, saying that I have only 7 days to live. Please tell me what I have to do so that I have to perfect my life. Shukadeva Goswami is not telling that you can meditate on any form. First, Shukadeva Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj to meditate upon the universal form, and the description of that universal form is so detailed and precise, which we saw in the preceding few verses in the last chapter. And now, Shukadeva Goswami is further asking Parikshit Maharaj, that if you have progressed after meditating on the universal form, then you can meditate on the super soul, the Paramatma who is seated within your heart. And this Paramatma has got a very, very specific form, a very specific dimension, and very, very specific paraphernalia this Paramatma has got, the Supreme Lord has got. And this is what is being described by Shukadeva Goswami in this verse. He is not saying that you meditate on whichever form you feel like meditating upon. It is all the same. He is not saying that. Because in the Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram. Whatever state of consciousness you are, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam, on whatever form you are meditating upon, tyajatyante kalevaram, at the time you are giving up this body, that state you will attain without fail. So, the subject matter of our meditation is most important. Mere meditation is not sufficient. On what is it that we are meditating determines our destination at the time we leave this body, or the destination after we leave this body. So, if we are not meditating on a form which is not in the nature of transcendence, then it is not possible that after we leave this body, our destination will be transcendental. So the impersonalists, they make this mistake that because you are meditating on a form, therefore your meditation is not transcendental. Because you are meditating on something which has got a form. And an impersonalist thinks the moment you are thinking about a form, then it is material in nature. But here, Shukadeva Goswami is describing a form not for a person who has got some material aspirations. Parikshit Maharaj is not desiring to go to some material planet. He is not seeking to improve his material condition of life. Neither is he interested in acquiring some material mystic power. He wants to attain the ultimate goal of life, which is to transcend beyond all material conditions of life. And when this is the question which Parikshit Maharaj is asking, then it is obvious that whatever response Shukadeva Goswami is giving is to serve this purpose of achieving the transcendental platform. Therefore, when Parikshit Maharaj is describing this form of the Paramatma, who is measuring only 8 inches, he's got 4 hands carrying lotus, wheel, Shankha Chankra Gada Padma, he's got a smiling face, his mouth is expressing happiness, he's got yellowish garments like the Kadamba flower, and he's wearing jewels, and he's garlanded with the Vanamali, fresh garlands. These are not material descriptions. These are completely spiritual descriptions. So, this is not possible to be understood by the impersonalists, that the Lord can have, or that there can exist a spiritual form. Shri Krishna Rukmani Satyabhama ki, Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Radha Damodar ki, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, because Parikshit Maharaj wants to attain the transcendental state, Shukadeva Goswami is giving Parikshit Maharaj on what he has to meditate upon, what should be the transcendental subject matter of his meditation. So, one such transcendental subject matter is the Lord himself, who is seated as Paramatma in the heart. And it is not only the Lord who is transcendental, even the Lord's paraphernalia is also transcendental. That is why that is also being described in this verse. Otherwise, Parikshit Maharaj could simply have said that there is a form of this Lord, he's got 4 hands, his height is 8 inches, he is seated within your heart, you please meditate upon him. What is the necessity of Sukadeva Goswami further giving these details about about the color of his garments, which is yellow in color, or the detailed description of the ornaments, or the headdress, or the garland? What is the necessity of Sukadeva Goswami to give the description of all these paraphernalia of the Lord? He is giving these descriptions because even the paraphernalia of the Lord are also transcendental in nature. As Prabhupada repeatedly says, that Krishna means Krishna, Krishna's form, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's paraphernalia, anything in connection with Krishna is transcendental in nature. It is not different from Krishna. So, the same effect that one gets by meditating on Krishna, one can get by meditating on Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's paraphernalia, Krishna's devotees, Krishna's prasadam, Krishna's garments, anything connected to Krishna, if one meditates upon, he attains the same transcendental result that one gets by meditating upon Krishna. So one may then get a doubt that if it is so clear from the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad-Bhagavatam, which says that the form of the Lord is transcendental, and by meditating upon such a form, one can get transcendental benefit, then why did Shankaracharya, based on the Vedas, propagate impersonalism? Why should he have done that? So Prabhupada, at one place, to explain this, he gave a nice story. He said, once there was a doctor and he had an assistant. So this doctor was a veterinary doctor. He used to treat animals. So one day, somebody had a horse in their house, and this horse had developed a swelling in the neck. So because this horse had developed a swelling in the neck, this doctor was called so that he can treat the swelling of this horse. So then this doctor along with his assistant went, and then the doctor, he saw the horse, he touched the neck, he felt the swelling, and then he told his assistant, you please go and bring one hammer. Then the assistant went and he brought a hammer. Then the doctor took the hammer and he just saw where the swelling was, and with the hammer he hardly hit at that place where the swelling was there. And that swelling suddenly reduced and that horse became all right. So this assistant was surprised. Oh, by hitting the swelling, the horse is cured. So maybe this is the treatment for treating all the swelling. And then they went away. This horse was also okay. Then after a few days, again somebody else called, saying that his horse had developed some swelling. So the assistant received this call. And this time he thought, why I should tell the doctor? Let me only go and cure. I know how to cure this swelling. So he went, he saw the horse. Same swelling was there on the neck of the horse. So he told the people, you please give me a hammer, I'll take care of this. So the person got a hammer, and this assistant, he took the hammer, and with his hammer, very hard he hit at the neck of the horse. What happened? The horse died. Then this assistant was under complete anxiety, and this horse owner, they informed the doctor, what is this? We called your assistant to treat the swelling of the horse. He came, he hit with a hammer, and the horse died. So this person, he said, the doctor came and he asked the assistant, what did you do? Then he said, this was there, last time also we had gone along with you. So the horse had swelling in the neck, and I saw you hit it with a hammer, and the swelling went away and the horse also recovered. So this time also somebody complained. So I thought, let me only go and do this. So I went, I used a hammer, I hit the horse on the swelling, but this time the horse has died. I don't know why this happened. Then this doctor said that you are a foolish fellow. Last time when I went and I checked the swelling, I understood that this horse had eaten a squash. Squash means like an orange. It had swallowed a squash, and that squash had got stuck in the neck. So all that I did is I crushed that squash which was there inside, and by that blockage got removed and the horse was able to lead a normal life. This does not mean that whenever you see some swelling, you go around with your hammer and keep hitting. How that will serve the purpose? So, Prabhupada explained that Shankara's propagation of Mayavada or impersonalism was limited to a certain situation or a condition. What was that situation? That Buddha had come and he had rejected all the Vedas, and therefore everywhere people had rejected the Vedas, and now those Vedas had to be revived. So for that particular moment, Shankaracharya, instead of again bringing back the concept of a personal God, he said, yes, what Buddha said is correct. There is no personal God or something, but there is something called Brahman, who is completely impersonal, and we can realize him by study of the Vedas and following the different Vedic practices. So just for that temporary situation, Shankaracharya has propagated this philosophy of impersonalism. This does not mean that this is eternally true and can be applied at all times, places and circumstances. So this impersonalism, this understanding that the absolute truth is impersonal, and anything which has got form, nature, quality, is all material, is not the Sanatana Dharma philosophy. Sanatana Dharma is the Lord is eternal, the devotees are eternal, and this loving relationship between the Lord and the Lord's devotees in the Lord's eternal abode. This is Sanatana Dharma. The Lord is Sanatana, the devotees are Sanatana, He has got an eternal abode which is Sanatana Dhama, and in that Sanatana Dhama, the dealings between the Lord and the Lord's devotees, this is Sanatana Dharma. So, anything connected to the Lord's name, the Lord's paraphernalia, the Lord's pastimes, as is being described here, all of these are transcendental. And by meditating on any of these things, one can be transported to the spiritual world. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram. This is a fact. Many times when we read Bhagavad Gita or Srimad-Bhagavatam, when there is a description about some details about the Lord's form and all, we quickly turn pages. Correct? We want to read some philosophy or some interesting activity, but the description of the Lord's jewelry or clothing, it doesn't catch our attention so much. So because we are also having some kind of impersonal contamination, and this kind of contamination only makes us not attracted to this. But devotees of the Lord, who are completely free from this contamination, they take great pleasure in simply discussing these great details about the Lord. Machchitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Anything connected to Krishna, great devotees, they experience great pleasure discussing these things about how nice the Lord's paraphernalia is, about the detailed description of his forms and all. Once Srila Prabhupada was explaining how everything in the spiritual world is transcendental. So one example that he gave is, when Srimati Radharani is cooking rice, Radharani will ask the rice, have you cooked properly? And the rice will say, no, just little more I have to cook. So this is how, and then devotees, that's how they were able to understand what is the meaning of everything in the spiritual world being transcendental. Even the rice that Srimati Radharani is cooking for Krishna, that is also transcendental, completely spiritual. So this kind of variegatedness is there in the spiritual world, for which impersonalists have no access to this. There is so much of variety. So many activities are happening in the spiritual world, and all this can be accessed only if somebody is a devotee. If somebody is an impersonalist, he might attain liberation. But all this variety, all this activity which is happening in the spiritual world, which is free from all the inebriaties which we see in this material world, can be experienced only when one takes to this process of devotional service. So for this, one has to be free from all these conceptions of impersonalism. So much of spiritual activity one can experience. So, what is it that one has to do to come to that platform? And what is it that the impersonalists do to come to the transcendental platform? We have to understand both, because whatever the impersonalists do, we should be careful that we don't do. What do the impersonalists do to come to the transcendental platform? Their only work is to reject, and reject. Naiti, naiti, naiti. That is, they say, this is not spiritual, this is not spirit, this is not spirit, this is Maya, this is Maya, this is Maya. And then what remains at the end of all that, that they say is spirit. And therefore their idea of the absolute truth is no form, no activity, no quality, no relationship, no rasa, and therefore what they experience is Nirguna Brahman. They negate activities, they negate relationships, they negate forms, they negate emotions, they negate relations. And by negating everything, what do they ultimately realize? They realize Nirguna Brahman, a state of simple existence without any activity. But then what happens to such people if they don't make further progress? Bhagavatam says, because they think they are liberated without having attained the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, they again have to fall down into this material world. They again have to fall down. So, one thing which devotees have to be careful about is, if they don't have to get into the impersonal trap, is that devotees don't reject anything. The process in devotional service, as the Goswamis has given, is that we accept everything that is favorable in Krishna's service and reject anything which is unfavorable. So devotees don't reject anything. Everything that is there in this material world is Krishna's energies. Therefore, we are trained to engage everything in Krishna's service. Because if we have to associate with the Lord, here Prabhupada in the purport is explaining that The ornaments, flower, clothing, and all the other decorations on the transcendental body of the personality of Godhead are identical with the body of the Lord. None of them are made of material ingredients. Otherwise, there would be no chance of decorating the body of the Lord. So, if one has to associate with the Lord in the spiritual world, he also has to be of the same spiritual quality as the Lord. Same spiritual quality. So, if we also want to overcome impersonalism and we want to go to the spiritual world and associate with the Lord, what is most important? We also have to attain the same spiritual quality as the Lord. How do we attain that same spiritual quality of the Lord? If we reject the Lord's energies, then how can we associate with the Lord? So, we have to spiritualize our understanding, our actions, our conception of variegatedness of the Lord's energies for us to be able to go to the spiritual world. So, for that, Prabhupada has given not only this philosophy by which we understand the nature of the Lord's form, nature, qualities, pastimes, but he has given us a practical way of performing devotional service, where we are able to engage everything in the service of the Lord and not rejecting anything as material. Prapanchikataya buddhya harisambandhi vastunaha mumukshubhi parityago falgu vairagya muchyate. If we as devotees, we also start thinking that, oh, this is material, so much trouble it is giving, let me not do this, let me not do this, let me not do this. It is prapanchikataya buddhya. It can be used in Krishna's service, but we are not using, thinking it is a burden. Hari sambandhi vanustuna mumukshubhi parityago. If we are just giving it up, thinking that, we will become liberated by giving up so many things, it is falgu vairagya. So our process is yukta vairagya. Anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjataha nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yukta vairagya muchyate. That is, without being attached to anything. Attachment means we have our likes, we have our dislikes. We have to keep all that aside. Keep aside your likes and dislikes. And yatarham upayunjataha. For whatever a thing is required in Krishna's service, we engage it for that. I don't like to work with someone, but still I will work because that is required for Krishna's service. I don't like to do something, but still I will do that because that is required for Krishna's service. I like something, but I will not use that because that is not required for Krishna's service. This is yukta vairagya. When we do this, what happens? Then we become qualified to go to the spiritual world. Because in the spiritual world, there is also unlimited variety. But all that variety is meant for Krishna's service. So, Srila Prabhupada is training us here. Not only giving the philosophy, but he is giving us a practical way of applying these things so that we become trained to go back to the spiritual world. Many times, Prabhupada used to receive letters from devotees that, they want a change of center, or they are having some trouble with other devotees, or they are having some trouble with doing some services. And Prabhupada used to reply to them. Actually, one such letter he had written to one devotee when the devotee had this issue. This letter Prabhupada had written on 23rd Jan 1969 in Los Angeles to one devotee called Shivananda. He said, regarding serving your God brothers, this is a very good practice. The spiritual master is never without his followers. So, to serve the spiritual master also means to be the servant of his disciples. When you want to serve the king, you must also serve his minister, secretary, and everyone who serves him. And to serve his servants may please him more than to serve the king personally. So, the spiritual master is not alone. He is always with his entourage. We are not impersonalists. We take care of every part of the whole as much as one should take care of his hat as well as his shoes. Both are equally important for the upkeep of the body. I hope that you will understand this rightly. So Prabhupada is saying that if we don't take care, or if we are not engaged in serving in the association of devotees, if we are not engaged in serving other devotees, thinking that they are not connected to Krishna, it is not essential for my progress in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada says that is an impersonalist understanding. It is not possible to gain access to the spiritual variegatedness of the spiritual world unless we learn to serve in the association of devotees. It's a very important principle. So, that is why Prabhupada created this institution. Otherwise, he could have simply said, we all can simply chant Hare Krishna, read some of the books that he has given, we'll develop an understanding. But it is not sufficient to go back to the spiritual world. Because as there is description here, spiritual world has got so much variegatedness. And we have to be trained to properly deal with all this variegatedness. And that training Prabhupada is giving through this institution, where we deal with money, wealth, name, fame, different qualities of devotees, different types of people who come to the temple, and all that we have to deal without a tinge of sense gratification. In all our dealings, keeping Krishna's pleasure in the front. And when we slowly become trained in that way, then we become qualified to enter into the spiritual world. So this is the wonderful opportunity that Srila Prabhupada is giving us. He is giving us the philosophy, he is giving us the practice by which we can realize the philosophy, and he has given us a platform where we can apply this philosophy. Everything Srila Prabhupada has given us. So all that we have to do is use this platform to understand this philosophy, to do our sadhana by which we realize this philosophy, and on this platform apply this also. And by this we can also become part of that wonderful spiritual world which is full of all variety, Satchit Ananda. Okay? So these are some of the things from today's verse. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.